How's it going, people? Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to the bigger picture. I've managed to get an hour or so out of Mo again this week, and it's a bit of the same old today. 5 points in the last 10 games after 9 points in the first 4, which is surprising. But we're currently 15th. Lucky Brighton drew today, otherwise we would have dropped down to 16th. However, Burnley have a couple games in hand that I think, if they do win it, then they're above us too. But this is the conversation at the moment. We're coming off the back of another 3 games, Mo. Let's start off with how you've been doing aside from Arsenal. Is everything else all right?
Yeah, well, no, I'm a bit gutted. It's like as last few Christmases I've been away. I've been out of the country with my wife, and every Christmas Day we kind of say it'd be nice to be with the family. And I've got in total 1 nephew, 4 nieces, so like 5 kids, and they made Christmas for me. And this year was the first year we're going to be here on Christmas for quite a few years, so we're really looking forward to it. And then I was just about to book a trip to Dubai for New Year's as well. My wife is pregnant, and we're thinking one last fun trip, because next year it's going to be a baby that we're taking care of. So I had all of that planned, and then flipping Boris and this stupid government has mismanaged this whole thing. Do you know what I was thinking? Actually, it's funny. If it wasn't for Boris and his band of idiots, then Arteta would be the worst manager in the country right now. But luckily, Boris is taking some heat away from him. So yeah, man, it's just ruined my plans. And it's like, I've taken 2 weeks off work, and it's just like, well, what do I do now? Just sit here, find DIY jobs to do. It's a bit boring,
No, I hear you. And it's not like Arsenal are like lightening up your day recently either. I think the last show we've done since then, we lost 1-0 to Burnley at home. We've drawn 1-1 with Southampton at home, and we're just coming off the back of a loss at Goodison Park against Everton. Yeah. And I think yesterday's loss, Mo, is quite significant considering it's Ancelotti's first year in charge. It's Arteta's first year in charge. We started at this game, in a sense, it was 0-0 12 months ago. Yeah. And 12 months on, you look at the direction and the improvements and advancements, and Everton have, it might not say it yet in the table because it's only about 3-4 win difference, but overall you see a bigger picture at Everton, and you can see that they're going in the direction of fueled by ambition. Yeah. Whereas our one doesn't seem to be fueled by ambition much. It seems to be fueled by the bottom line. And Mo, let's get into it. What did you make of the last 3 games? Obviously, we've got 1 point and we've got 2 red cards out of them. We'll touch on Xhaka and that in a sec. But yeah, let me know the last 3 games.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. You remember, right, that we said when we did our thing, and I'm just looking at the Arsenal fixtures now, as you say, was it the Burnley game that we were doing? That was the next game when we last spoke. And then we spoke about that, and we said, and we went through the fixtures, all the Premier League fixtures that were left in 2020. We said Burnley at home, Southampton at home, Everton away, and then it was obviously Chelsea home, Brighton away. And we looked at those 5. And remember, we went through it and we said, obviously he was already under pressure then. And we said, how many points does he need to get in order to kind of say, fine, that's what we expect, and you should therefore stay in the job. And we kind of said around the 9, 10, 11 mark, something like that. Yeah. We now know, guaranteed, he's not going to be able to get there.
Not even close, really.
Yeah, man. Can you believe that? And that's, the maximum now is 7, and that's beating Chelsea at home and Brighton away.
Yeah.
I don't see us beating Chelsea for a start.
I don't. I'm looking past Chelsea at the moment. Like I said to you before the stream, I think we've got 2 6-pointers coming up in the relegation sense, when we've got Brighton just before the new year and West Brom just after the new year. Yeah, 2 teams below us. We've just lost to 1 in Burnley. And those are games right now that, listen, I've always said I don't entertain the talk of a relegation battle until February, March. But at this stage right now, after coming off the loss to Burnley and seeing that we're not going to really be able to compete with even Tottenham and United and Chelsea at the moment, let alone the Brightons and West Brom, those 2 games are massive. Massive. Do you agree? Do you think they're massive for us now? Or
yeah, 100%. Listen, as I said to you, it is not arbitrary, the fact that I did that 5 games with the points target. It's because it leads into the January transfer window, and it's really, really, really hard to kind of make people understand how catastrophic relegation would be for Arsenal, because this is not just a case of I mean, obviously, everyone knows it would be catastrophic, but I don't think people realise just how bad it would be. There will be a European Super League, I reckon, in our lifetimes. Yeah. And we are not going to be at that table if we're a club getting relegated and bouncing back, even if it happens as a one-off. That, for me, I think that very likely puts us out of the picture. They will be looking at it saying, like, look at a team like Everton, really on the way up. Look at a team like Leicester, very consistent last 5 years, for example. And then look at a team like Arsenal, just up in the relegation. And these things are gathering momentum now. Conversations are being had now. And I do think it's a matter of time before these things happen. And depending on when that happens, we cannot afford to not be at the top table. Arsenal have been at the top table for a long, long time. And even now, you could argue that we're just about in the corner of the room, but we're still in that conversation of the top clubs and, like, you know, the well supported famous clubs in Europe. We cannot have a relegation and what that'll do to our reputation and the sort of doors that will close to us. Yeah. So I think, you know, a relegation now could have really, really detrimental impact on Arsenal for the next, like, 50, 100 years if we miss out on as big of a change as something like a European Super League as a result of it. Yeah. So I don't think we should be taking it lightly and just kind of ambling on this season. That's why I think that January transfer window, I know it might sound a bit much, but, you know, you have to be if you're in charge of the club, you have to be a very good steward of the club and ensure the security for decades to come, ensure the real financial health. And on that basis, I think you just have to say, look, let's just guarantee survival this year. I can't believe we're saying that, but let's just guarantee it.
That's the only thing we can do this season in terms of the league. I think there's nothing for us above. I think there's, as inconsistent as it has been, you know, there's a lot of teams up there competing for top four at the moment, and we are nowhere near one of them. So I think you're right. I think securing survival is, as funny as it sounds this early on.
Crazy, yeah. And you know what, Turkish, I think some people would look at it and kind of, you know, I'm not one to say things for impact or just to chase views or anything. This honestly isn't a conversation that I'm trying to, like, you know, make people respond to or anything like that. I'm really, really not trying to be antagonistic with this, but I really, really just think that, you know, it's only because we're Arsenal, because we have that name of Arsenal Football Club, that people might not take the whole relegation conversation seriously. And don't get me wrong, I don't expect it. Far from expect it, but I just look at the actual form. It's really, truly awful relegation form. Since the last international break, we're 19th on current form. Yeah. So it's really, really worrying. And it's not a case of when you look at performances and expected goals and all of that sort of stuff, you think to yourself, fair enough, we're 19th, but actually we should be 12th or something like that. We're as bad as we're getting what we deserve. Yeah. We're as bad as the results.
100%.
So, like, you know, if people think I'm kind of being a bit, you know, funny, I'm really not. I just really want to make sure that we don't have this arrogance that our reputation, our name is going to protect us, because it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. And like I said, you know, before I was saying February, March, but I think after Brighton and West Brom, I'll have a better understanding of that securing survival and what that really will mean for us this season. Suleiman as a super chat here says, Tierney, Partey, Gabriel, Martinelli and Oba to stay. The rest of the players, including management and owners, need to leave. I'd add Saka to that list for sure.
Yeah, Saka. Yeah. For sure. And Leno. I don't know if Leno was on there, but I don't
know. Yeah, definitely. I'd keep him on there too. Obviously, he hasn't, you know, the jury's still out on him, but at the same time, you know, he hasn't let us down yet too much. At times, you might pick out mistakes here and there. But Mo, over the last couple of weeks, there's been a few things that have come out that have further highlighted what me and you have essentially been talking about for years, and that's the bigger problems at the football club. You know, you've delved into things before, from finances to board members to direction, and I've done the same. And over the last couple of weeks and over the last couple of years since Wenger has, you know, bowed out, a lot of the cracks have opened up. And the last 2 weeks alone, and this is post Freddie Ljungberg comments, which highlighted last year how unplanned we was, how, you know, lack of vision there was out there post Emery. We allowed Ljungberg to take charge alone. But this last couple of weeks, I want to touch on Van Persie first, Mo. I think we agree on Van Persie in one sense, where we can't forgive him for the choice made. Yeah. But recently he's made some interesting comments, and I'm just going to read out the quote. And he says, at Arsenal, I didn't feel like we were on the level to compete. One day the chairman showed me how healthy the club was by showing their positive numbers. I told him I don't give a shit about these numbers. I want to lift the Premier League. He goes on to say, we felt it would be best to leave and the deal with Juventus was closed, but the chairman, Gazidis, was stubborn towards them. And obviously he knew the only other option was Manchester. He said that departure is still a sensitive topic, but he just wanted to win. Putting the emotion aside for a second, Mo, I think like I said, we both agree on we can't forgive Van Persie for the choice, even though it looks like he was pushed into that. Do you think we as fans take some ownership that we missed out on one of our players trying to open our eyes at that time, or do you think that it's just part of being a fan? You know,
it's kind of a bit of both, isn't it? It's very hard to be objective as a fan, like when your talisman leaves, you know, and not only leaves, but leaves to a team that you dislike and for cut price. But, you know, kind of what I would say is that how many Arsenal fans have you ever heard criticise Sol Campbell?
Yeah.
You know, what he did, if we're going to criticise Robin Van Persie, what Sol Campbell did was much worse.
Yeah.
But on one hand, we celebrate that and then we criticise Van Persie. And we can't really have it both ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like Van Persie wasn't the greatest player we've ever had or our biggest prospect ever, you know. Pardon me. But Sol Campbell really was, you know, one of the best players that ever come out of Tottenham. And then to leave on a free, to lie. And he left with like almost disrespect for them. Like, you know, that interview where he was asked, what are you going to be doing? He goes, no, I'm staying. Like that, you know, Van Persie didn't even do it like that, but we love Sol Campbell for it. I'll always love Sol Campbell for what he did.
Of course.
So then on the other hand, like if we're trying to be realistic, I'm not saying Tottenham fans have to like Sol Campbell, yeah? And by extension, then Arsenal fans don't have to like Van Persie. But you know, he was right.
Yeah.
He was right to leave. He won a Premier League. Ultimately, the only thing that he had to do to prove that he made the right decision was to go and win more trophies than what Arsenal did. And he did that.
Yeah, and he even further went on to say, which is it highlights another big problem. And as much as I can't forgive Van Persie for it, I can understand the decision. I have to show him some respect and give him some respect for still talking out about the matter and being what I think is honest about it. And he said at one stage, I felt I needed to say where things could be improved. He played against Chiellini a few times. He saw he's a winner, and you need those kind of winners and killers in the side to sign him. He came up with suggestions and names based on his own experiences. We scored a lot. Our attack was good, but goalkeeper and defense are the foundation of the team. And as well as that, you hear when Bellerin spoke about Sanchez and said that, you know, Sanchez wanted to win a bit too much. And the mentality and character issue at Arsenal Football Club, Mo, how big of a problem is it? Because quality is one thing, you know, we can talk about quality all day, but the mentality and character is so, I don't know the right word for it. I tend to call it soft, but I'm sure there's a better word for it that you can particularly pull out, but it's so weak, soft that it's embedded into the club now, you know. This was Van Persie 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, you know, and now it's still happening. So how deep is this problem at Arsenal?
Yeah, it is. It's basically like, you know, you get even in like different households, different family households, you get some kids that just grow up in an ambitious environment, and you get other people that don't grow up in an ambitious environment. And you kind of say, like, sometimes I feel sorry for certain people because their horizons haven't been expanded for them. You know, they don't grow up thinking I can achieve whatever I want. And I think you know, you might look at it and say, well, yeah, if they did well in school and if they did this and that, they could go and do it. But the mental block that comes with that when that kind of like positive pressure isn't around you, it does really, really limit your potential. And I feel like Arsenal, the way our club is run, it's all very nice, but there isn't that kind of like expectation or that real belief that is intrinsic in our club that gets into the bloodstream of players that makes them think, yeah, like we can go and achieve something, or not even that we can, but we should. There isn't that level of expectation. And, you know, I think that with Van Persie, I have to admit that when I look back on his comments a few years after, I thought to myself, well, yeah, he was right, and maybe we reacted too emotionally at the time. But it's just for me with Van Persie, he was at the club for 8 years, and I think either 3.5 or 4.5 years or something, he was injured, basically. And I felt like, given you were a nobody when you came and what we made you into and how long you were injured for and how much we stuck by you, I felt like it would have been nice to have received a bit more loyalty than that. But, what can you say? He doesn't owe it to us.
Yeah.
He wasn't a boyhood Arsenal fan. So, yeah, he did what he did, and that's just the nature of the game. But it does... what I would say with Van Persie, stop twerking for Arsenal fans. Because when you left Arsenal, you made that decision that you're not truly going to be loved anywhere. You weren't at Old Trafford long enough to be cherished and loved like they would Becks or Rooney or whatever. You weren't at any of even your Dutch clubs, even let's say PSV or Feyenoord, whatever. You weren't there long enough either, really, and you left quite quickly. At Arsenal, you tainted it, and I almost kind of feel like maybe the guy's just looking for somewhere to be loved. Like we have people come back to when Perez comes back or Tony Adams comes back, whatever, Henry, they get so much affection, and maybe Van Persie is just missing that. Just stop talking about us, man. Like even if you are right, it's done. We've got no love for you. Just drop it, man. Stop twerking.
I don't know. I tend to agree. I enjoy it because he's saying things that, from a fan's perspective sometimes, Mo, I'm sure you've heard it as well. Even I've been called it, but you've been called it a lot more than me, the accountant or an agenda, or like this person looks into the finances more than the football, all of this stuff. Because I've heard the same. But it's good that a player has come out because that perspective is completely different. And it offers the people that tell us we're accountants or we shouldn't be looking into those things. We should just care about it shows them up in a sense. And that is essentially what's needed to turn around people's attention and open their eyes a bit.
I do wonder, though, I'm not sure if I fully believe the story about an executive showing him the financials. I mean, are you really going to take a footballer through the finances? To me, that shows either real stupidity on behalf of the guy wearing the suit, on behalf of the exec. And I don't know which one he was referring to. Gazidis, all right. Or I'm a bit skeptical about that whole story, to be honest with you. But, ultimately, I understand that even if Van Persie's been a bit creative with that whole story, maybe it's kind of shows where the focus is in the club rather than it being sort of transfer target driven, what you're going to do with the money. It was more business driven in terms of, that we have money almost and we are financially secure. It's like, well, yeah, forget about all that. What are you going to do with it? I don't care about earning a penny if we're not going to invest it for footballing reasons. We obviously want that to be retained in the club in that cycle to continue so that it increases our on-field performance, which therefore generates more money to then increase again our on-field performance until we're truly, truly successful. So I don't know. I really don't know what to make of it because I just don't know whether to believe the actual story.
Yeah, no, I understand that because a lot of people are saying that too. And he mentioned a few months ago how he wasn't offered a contract too. And even I looked at that and thought, oof, are you playing on the fact Arsenal fans are fed up with the board and direction and are finally opening their eyes or not? Potentially. But we've got a couple super chats here I just want to get through. I know I don't like breaking up conversation, but if people have done that, I need to just make sure I do read it out. Mo and T, how do you feel when every team in the table scoring and winning games they aren't expected? As an Arsenal fan, it's depressing. You've answered that question yourself, bro. I can't even lie to you. It's depressing. Full stop. Made in Brooklyn 75 says the fact that Bellerin doesn't realize thinking Sanchez wanted to win too much is wrong and felt comfortable saying it publicly tells you how poor the mentality is within our more senior players. 100%, not long ago, people were calling for Bellerin to be captain. Not long ago, we had Xhaka as captain. Gareth, who's a regular on the channel, says big respect both. I heard on AFTV that KSC could be getting sued for 2 billion for what happened with one of the teams. So hopefully if it does happen and he does get sued, then that makes him sell up. Or it tightens the screws even more and he rinses us for as much money as he can before he goes. If he needs it, what better cash cow than Arsenal Football Club at the moment? And I want people to kind of save the questions and that for the end, so the conversation can flow a bit. I know we've got a couple more here. Also, the board rejected David O'Leary in becoming a board member, and that says a lot. Actually, that's a good point, SB. Appreciate the super chat. What are your thoughts on that? Because it does say a lot more, doesn't it? David O'Leary is a big part of Arsenal and could have been a big part moving forward too.
He's our record appearance holder. You know, he doesn't seem to have the status in the club or in the hearts of the fans that I feel like he should. And I actually spoke to him outside Sunderland a few years ago, and I actually said to him that, like, why is someone like you not involved higher up at Arsenal? And, you know, these people are very respectful. They conduct themselves on the whole with a lot of class. So he didn't say much, but he kind of shrugged, you know. And I remember I even spoke to David Dean quite a few years ago, and I said to him, look, David, if Arsenal basically asked you to come back, because under your tenure we did so well, and David Dean was a very, very influential man in football. He was known to have the biggest contacts book in football. I said to him, if Arsenal asked you to come back, what would you say? And he goes, he basically said something like, I'm always there, I'm always here, or I'd always answer the call, something like that. Like, you know, not directly like, yes, I want to come back, yes, I think I should be back, but he said, I'd always be there, or something like that. And he intimated in his own subtle, kind of classy way that yes. And I feel like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know why we haven't done this sort of thing, but it's interesting because, you know, when Arsene Wenger was manager, he had all the power. Then we went and changed that whole setup. You know, obviously there was that tension between him and Gazidis, and that setup changed to have a kind of levels in between. And now we've gone and undone all of that work. And to me, it's just like really shows a real lack of clarity and experience and understanding of how a club should run, what the best model is. And now when you look at everyone is very inexperienced in these roles. And I think you touched on this, didn't you, in your last interview, Turkish? That,
yeah.
There is not enough experience there. And I just feel like, yeah, we're paying the price for that now. Yeah,
because if you compare it, like Moshiri and Usmanov wanted this for Arsenal. And by this, it's not just all about spending, because Moshiri and Usmanov probably don't know football as much as I and you and we would like them to. But what they did do is bring in Marcel Brands, who does know football a lot more than Edu and a lot more than a lot of other technical directors in the league. They brought in Angelotti in turn. You know, they've done things that, you know, they've put the trust into people that the fans can also trust. They haven't bought into a vision, a blind vision that fans can't see, which is what we've done as a board. The inexperience seeps down from an owner that doesn't care or know what's required at a football club to really succeed, you know. And the David O'Leary thing is massive to me. Sorry, Mo.
No, carry on.
No, the David O'Leary thing is massive to me because I feel like having someone there, David O'Leary, I can trust them. You know, I can trust them. I don't feel like he's maybe that new school type that would sell out for the, you know, and be a company man if need be. I might be wrong because I'm surprised by other figures, but the less said about that, the better. I just feel like it just shows, that alone shows that this club do not want someone that's going to push them, someone that's going to challenge them. And in any good business, Mo, you know better than anyone. In any good business, you need someone that can challenge up as well as challenge down. It's easy to challenge down.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, I just look at it and I think, like, look, let's say, Turkish, you come into a few £1 billion tomorrow and you buy Arsenal. We know, like, obviously we talk with a lot of confidence and authority as Arsenal fans, and a lot of people say, what the hell do you know, it's misplaced. And imagine you come into a few £1 billion tomorrow and you buy Arsenal Football Club. You would walk through the door and be like, damn, like, I'm a bit overawed by the task ahead of me. So what's the first thing you would do? I would look at other clubs and I would say, what structures do they have? What types of people do they have in these structures? And what are the CVs of these people? I'd look at the top performing clubs in the world and I'd say, like, all right, you know, Bayern Munich, Juventus, Barcelona, all of these clubs. And I'd say, like, when I look at the people in these positions, what are their CVs looking like? And I think their CVs would be a lot more extensive than Edu. If I owned Arsenal Football Club, I would not kind of be that comfortable just saying, oh yeah, it should be fine. Someone like Edu, I'm not taking anything away from the guy. Everyone's got to learn their trade, but I would not feel comfortable. I'd say, like, Edu, I know, like, you did really well for the club, but I just feel like I need someone that truly, truly understands everything there is about the industry of football. Because someone like Arteta hasn't been a manager long enough. Ancelotti he's been around, he's worldwide respected reputation. So that's like, check, fair enough. And I just feel like Stan Kroenke, he is not the most informed football man out there. So for an owner like that, you then have to delegate that football knowledge. You have to go and find that deep-rooted football knowledge elsewhere. And you need to find that not just with an Ancelotti as a manager, but also the people that link him to you, the people in between, the chief exec, the director of football, that sort of thing. And I just feel like I'm really surprised at the Kroenke's approach to go for VINAI, who I've got no problem with VINAI. Why would you say no to this opportunity? And I don't know what he's done inside the club to get this gig. He must have done something all right. And then EDU as well. He must have done brilliantly in his other roles to get this gig. But I'm always a bit more cynical when it's an ex-player. Would Edu have got this equivalent job at Liverpool or at Chelsea? Probably not. And I feel like just being an ex-player is not a good enough reason. If someone, and this is where I feel like there's a bit of, it becomes quite an uncomfortable conversation sometimes, because we might look at Edu and our own unconscious bias, when he gets that role, we'll look at it and say, all right, fine, yeah, we're not going to kick up a fuss. But then you tell me honestly, what would the reaction be of fans if Emmanuel Eboué was put in that position?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's my point. Just being an ex-player isn't enough. It should be on more objective reasons, something more factual. It should be on a track record of experience and success in an equivalent role. So why, Kroenke, as an inexperienced football club owner, has he employed now the structure has employed inexperienced football people as well? At least when Senlehi was there, and Mislintat and those sorts of people, at least they had experience.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing anymore.
You ask what VINAI's done for the club, and what it looks like he's done for the club is VINAI was in marketing and the commercial side of things when all of this natural change of football came about, Mo. The natural change of TV rights and the money that all of a sudden started coming in out of nowhere, and that change from the Premier League being just inundated with money from many different TV stations. And on paper, to Kroenke, it probably looked like, oh, well, VINAI's in charge, or he's around the marketing, the commercial department. He must be doing very well, because he is not linked to anything footballing wise. And that's what worries me about him being in the position that he is in. Although at the same time, in that position, you need a balance. However, the balance is not there because, like you said, Edu, inexperienced. When you look at his CV so far, he's helped Carlos Queiroz with Iran. He's helped Brazil with coordination. He was at Corinthians for a little while with no achievements under his belt. So for me, if you want me to be patient in something, in someone or a group of people, then I need to have some substance there. Like you said, I need to have a track record where, okay, they've been there and done that. Okay, it took them this long at this club. It took them this long at this club. Well, let's see how it goes at this club. There's something to believe in. But I feel like this leads us perfectly to the next bit, which is the Edu statement. But we've got a couple more questions here, or thoughts. Gender says, Kroenke, greedy capitalist billionaire that buys a company, makes their product smaller with worse ingredients to increase profit margins. Arsenal Limited. A lot of fans are frustrated with Kroenke, and that's one good thing to come out of this season, in my opinion, because it's the thing that needed to come out for a long time now. As much as we're depressed game after game, as much as we're in 15th position, closer to relegation than top 4, I believe this needed to happen for more fans to realize these players, the sun doesn't shine out of their backsides. This team is not being run properly. We got Flyboy, Cruddy, Arteta is done. He needs to go back and make Pep his coffee 2 sugars. And obviously, that's what happens when you don't have nothing to fall back on, because even if we had, let's say, Ancelotti, no one will ever question him to go back and make some tea and 2 sugars. No one will say, go put the cones out for Pep. You take that risk, and it was not the risk to take, was it, Mo?
Yeah, look, it's easy to say that in hindsight. I mean, I was saying to Robbie the other day that I feel like instead of being proved right, I feel like I've been proved wrong twice. Because when Arteta first came in, I said, look, I want a established manager. And I think I said at the time that, I think I mentioned the fact that Everton have gone and got Ancelotti and we've gone and got Arteta, and it tells me something at the time. I'll have to try and dig out that interview really, but I wasn't for the appointment at the time. And then after we won the FA Cup and the boost that he gave the team, I turned around and said, well, look, I'm happy to admit I was wrong because Arteta's done really well. So that was the first time I admitted I'm wrong. And now I'm sitting here thinking, well, I have to admit I was wrong about thinking I was wrong. So I'm kind of wrong twice, because back to square one where, yeah, like ultimately Arteta doesn't seem like he's experienced enough. And you might have all the tactical awareness in the world, not that I think he does based on what we've seen, but I think it's not about tactics. I think he's alienated the players. I don't think they like him. I feel like they're not happy or motivated or inspired to play for him. And sometimes you need to know how to, it's hard enough to manage a couple of people in a team, in any job. Never mind managing a whole squad of, 30 plus players, of which you need to select 25 for your Premier League squad. And these are all multimillionaires and they've got egos and that sort of thing. It's very, very difficult. And I feel like that's where his failing has been. But, Turkish, you focus on Kroenke a lot and I focus on Arteta a lot. And for me, there was a cut-off point, really, because I used to talk about the board. I used to talk about the owner a hell of a lot. And I stopped doing that when Kroenke got his compulsory buyout of other shareholders. Because I'm not saying that it's a waste of time when you do it, but that's something that we can't change. That, you cannot force someone. I cannot force you to sell me that cap on your head. I just can't do it.
Well, 100% you can't, but then we can force, and this is where my directions kind of changed recently, because you are right. And that whole out word itself has so much negative connotation. And it's through engagement with people online, it's through engagement with friends and other Arsenal fans that this new direction come about. And it's looking at a sense where, okay, you can't force me to buy this cap off my head, Mo. But if you get enough people to create pressure that makes somebody offer me over the odds for this hat, it potentially makes a sale. I might potentially give it up, because the unrest in the fan base is so great, it's so wild. We're already making a lot, and at the same time, we have a buyer because we've grew up now. That's why someone mentioned it in my comments recently, and I don't really want to say Kroenke out no more. It's the easy thing to say. I think sell Arsenal is a much easier term and phrase to get our head around and create a positivity behind it, something fresh. Because it is positive. I want him to sell Arsenal to make us great again. I don't want to create a negative phrase, a negative buzz, even though it will start off in that manner, because at the moment everything is the reality. But you are right, it is like banging your head off a brick wall, essentially.
But also I have to admit, you are right as well. I mean, what I'm not suggesting is that, we can't change it so we don't do anything. Ultimately pressure and the swell of millions and millions of fans, and that pressure that gets created with that is worth something. So I would 100% join anything that was designed to encourage Kroenke to sell or to get him out, whatever. But that's my point. I guess I'm trying to be specific here. We cannot get him out. It just doesn't work like that. But yes, if anything could be done to encourage him to sell, to let him know that we desperately want him to sell, then I'm all for that. But as I was mentioning earlier, I think a European Super League, something of that nature, is inevitable. Personally, I think it's a real shame, but I think it will happen. And I look at football clubs and I think to myself, like, the value of football clubs, at what point are people going to say that value is now close to being overvalued, or is there still scope for growth? And I think because of an impending European Super League that's very likely to happen within our lifetime, I think for that reason, clubs will be worth even more money. Every week you imagine Arsenal, Dortmund, Real, Chelsea, that sort of stuff, Barca, Juve. If that's happening every week, the worldwide audiences will be crazy. And ultimately, because of that, there will be a shift in the values and it will go up again. So the reason why I mention that is because I think Kroenke won't sell. I think, I don't know what his motivations are. Does he love Arsenal? Does he love football? I don't think so. Is he looking for, growth of the value of the club? I think yes, and I think this might be what he's waiting for. So I feel like we can really bang our head against the wall. It's probably not going to happen, but yeah, I agree. I do see your point. I do agree with you that we should at least be trying.
And this is why I like this show and talking to you more, because to be honest, it's come up in my thought process before, but I haven't really looked into it like that. And when you break it down, you're right, because behind the scenes, all the talks are ongoing now. So as much as we're upset, as much as the team are not performing, and as much as I looked at last year's finances and said the first loss since Highbury is a massive thing. You're right, it might not be that massive, because round the corner in 2, 3, 4 years, the potential of the European Super League and the income it brings could offset the last 4 years of loss, which we're due to make, because the next 3 years we're not going to be making profit. It just doesn't make sense. We're not in the elite European competition. It doesn't even look like we're going to get into the secondary one next year either. That's all going down. And I mentioned the sell Arsenal philosophy and phrase, because things like Dangote in, or like Tom said, any truth in Flamini, which I think not. We are focusing on one individual when who knows who's out there that might be interested. Dangote is one that spoke about us, but there might be others out there that are interested. We didn't know Usmanov was really interested till he really made his interest public. So sell Arsenal brings on all and invites all people who might look at us as another cash cow. Someone else said, be careful what you wish for, and afterwards you might not get a better owner. Well, it can't get much worse, and I'm willing to take that risk. Big up TT Gaming David, who's a regular on the channel. He says, Oba openly spoke about Awar this summer. Was that him putting pressure on Arsenal? He needs a technician to put those through balls through. He must have been disappointed when we never got him. Arteta alienating the players. I agree. And one thing I want to say on that is, potentially, if Oba's told that Ozil's no longer part of our plans, it might seem like that is pressure. What did you make of the Oba, putting some pressure on about Awar this summer on Twitter, I believe it was more.
I don't remember the actual tweet or whatever, but I'm absolutely not surprised, because, for so often this season, I've been watching us play, and I just think, which one of our players has really got that, like, perfection and subtlety in their game to play the perfect pass? We saw Ceballos. I mean, he huffs and puffs and he really tries. He doesn't have that level of subtlety in disguise in his pass that you need at the top level. When it really comes, like, he's good on the halfway line and good receiving the ball from the keeper. When it really comes to being really perfectly intricate, he's not that player. And I think that we all thought that he probably would be able to when he joined, but I think reality has shown that he can't. And you know what? It's funny. I watched back the interview that I did when we beat Burnley. I think it was his debut, and people were talking about. Huh?
Did you watch mine that day as well?
No, I need to watch it.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same as what your face is looking like there, because I picked him up that day as well, because it was a breath of fresh air.
No, you see, I didn't. Because
you didn't?
No, I didn't, because it was like, I was laughing because I had an argument with Kelechi, like a friendly argument with Kelechi on camera, actually. You can watch it, because I was like, guys, come on, like it's one game. And we had sold Aaron Ramsey and then bought in Ceballos. And one thing that we've lacked for a long time is proper goal-scoring midfielders. Pepe, actually, he's done all right in his first season. He's done better in his first season than Ljungberg and Perez did, But other than him, and even he needs to raise it, to be fair. But we don't have a midfielder that can go box to box and get goals. And I looked at letting go of Ramsey, who was probably our best one in recent years, and looked at Ceballos. And Ceballos had got like about less than 15 goals in his senior career up to the point he joined Arsenal. And I thought to myself, clearly he's not the answer. I did hope they'd be a bit better in terms of, creativity, but he's not that guy either. And I just always think to myself, man, look, from Aubameyang's point of view, he must be, and we spoke about this last time, he must be desperate for Ozil to be in the team, because, the outside of the pass, outside of the foot pass that Nketiah gave to Aubameyang after Staka's great run, that sort of pass, that sort of just moment of perfection that Nketiah pulled off in that moment, we've really missed. And it put over 1-on-1 with the keeper, and obviously went and scored the goal. But we've really missed that, and we don't have enough players in our team that can do it. So, of course, someone like that, he played a lovely assist. You might have seen it. Almost, I think he was like on the spin outside of his right foot as he turned and flicked it over the defender's outstretched foot, got an assist. recently in Liga. Obviously, he's that sort of player as well. We desperately need that. So, of course, Aubameyang's going to be putting pressure on that because, that's how he gets his goals.
Yeah, 100%. We've got another question here, Mo. Great show. Thank you very much. I'm glad you lot are enjoying. There's nearly 2,000 people here as well, surprisingly, this Sunday evening. But hit the like button if you haven't already. Make sure you do that for us. And obviously follow myself on Instagram. I'm back on Instagram. They disabled me for a day, but I'm back. And Twitter, Turkish LDN. And Mo, yours is Arsenal Mo on Twitter.
Yeah.
And
Arsenal Mo 8. And thanks to each and every 2,000 of you, man. I appreciate it. It's nice to know that, even without kind of clout chasing, anything like that, you're all tuning in, man.
That's why that exactly why I want to continue bringing this, because the love it's been getting it's been a lot, and at the same time it's showing that you don't necessarily have to effing and blinding and be all disrespectful to get views and to essentially get our points across. Quick question: if you could replace Vinai, Edu, and Arteta, who would you replace them with? You see, my answer to that question is there's an abundance of people. I wouldn't have known Marcel Brands if before the Everton game I didn't do my research and think, let me see who they put in that position. Same way I might look at Ajax and say, well, Van der Sar and Overmars is a tag team that I don't mind taking over here because it looks like they've done a good job over in Ajax. But essentially, there's so many people out there. Mo, do you have anyone in mind that?
No, that's the thing. That is the hardest question to answer in football because, we can see the players. You can look at the statistics. You can watch the games. But this backroom stuff, football's very, very secret like that. You don't. Sometimes they'll do an editorial piece, when Leicester won the league and they talk about the players, the people that scouted the players and that sort of thing. But otherwise, the quieter you keep that sort of information, the better, because they're very easy to poach. If you think about football as a whole, mega money goes to the players, but people like the top scouts and that sort of thing, clubs will be willing to poach them because, they can pay for themselves very, very easily. And certain people with a lot of influence, if you get the right people, £1 million goes a hell of a long way. If you add that to someone's pay packet, the influence they can have for your club can be huge. So I think this is an element of football that's very, very hard to gauge unless you're in football, actually in the industry, and you know who the players are. Yeah. So from my point of view, from your point of view, it's very hard to say. But, I've always maintained that I know David Dean he must be 75 or something now? He's not. Yeah,
he must be. He must be, if not older, to be honest.
Yeah, he's not a young boy anymore. But I don't know. Look, my old man is 70. He's fit and fighting, and we're always talking business, me and him, and investments and that sort of thing. I just wonder, I would pick up the phone to David Dean and say to him, look, what do you think? Maybe he's actually not as well versed in the modern game anymore. Maybe he would be the right person, but I'd certainly be picking up the phone to people like him, and I'd be doing my research. I'd be looking at club structures, as I was saying earlier. I'd be looking at Bayern Munich, for example, who's the person who appointed Flick as manager, for example, who was the one that engineered the moves of, how they're getting all these Dortmund players on frees all the time, that relentless ruthlessness, and not only the desire to do it, the ability to pull it off as well. Who's the one that's picking Serge Gnabry, Kingsley Coman, Alphonso Davies, all of these? Who's the person doing all of this stuff behind the scenes? I'd like to know that. And I'd be looking at clubs that I feel like are impressive. Ajax is another one, very impressive club. And I'll be looking at who these people are, and I'd just be trying to poach. I really would. That's how I'd go about it.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because remember that, was it 3 years ago now, we brought in Sven Mislintat, and everyone done their background research. They saw what he'd done at Dortmund and what he'd done at other teams, and that gave us some hope, for his transfers. Although some of them, we question now, and some of them we look at as still potential now, but if you give us someone like that, then we've got someone that we can believe in. If you give us someone that, let's move on to the Edu statement, tells us in the summer that we signed Willian to make an immediate impact, and then tells us 3 months later that what was the exact words? Let me just pull it out here. He said, what do you expect? Do you expect it straight away? Boom, Willian can be the best one. And it's in a very condescending manner as well. Yeah. He's the one that told us immediate impact. Now he's being condescending about expecting it when we should expect expect it. 7 years in the league and 32 years of age.
Yeah. And that does really annoy me, Turkish. You know, I always say to people, we are not idiots. Just because we're fans and we haven't had Premier League experience or we're not in the football industry, we're not idiots. We know when it's fair to expect instant performance from a player, and we know when it's not. £72 million on Pepe, but I didn't expect instant performance from him because I know that it takes a while to adapt to the physicality of this league. Willian, who has played, for Chelsea, this isn't a case of this even stepping up in the league. It's a case of a like-for-like top club, used to the pressure. He's not even moving home, for God's sake, most likely. He's living in London, whatever, very, very minimal impact on his life, even emotionally, mentally. And never mind the physical element, there's no difference there. Yes, we can expect an immediate impact. Absolutely, we can. And if you're not expecting an immediate impact, why are you signing a 32-year-old?
Yeah, exactly.
By the time that impact comes, it's time for him to retire. Exactly. And the fact that we gave him a 3-year contract, there's obviously something with this Brazilian link-up. With Edu, the contract that went to David Luiz, this contract that's gone to Willian, because clearly it doesn't make any sense. You can be condescending and you can try and make your statements, but we're not idiots. We know there's more to it, and we're being taken for a ride by this very band of agents.
Right, Mo, you nearly lost it there. I nearly put rant in the title. Mo rant in the title as well. But listen, big up Amaru on TV as well. Very good interviewer, very good interviews on his channel. Make sure you follow him on YouTube if you haven't already. We've got a couple more questions here. With the issues going on in French football with the TV rights, we need to pressure Lyon in January. A deal can be made. Well, we hope so, but at the end of the day, Arsenal are not a team that apply pressure very well. Pressure tends to backfire on us and makes us look stupid with egg on our faces. I look at that £40 million deal for Suarez. That was our aim at applying pressure, and look what came out the back end of it. At the end of the day, egg on
but
our
tell
faces.
Me this, Turkish. Tell me this. Or you can do the next question if you want. I'll come back to
yeah, Guna 1990 and Mo. This is someone who, remember I mentioned earlier about the sell Arsenal phrase and tagline. It's through engagement with this one in particular that highlighted that to me. So, big up Guna 1990s. And he said, with unit, we could force a sale. Don't underestimate the power of the purchaser and PR, Mo. Now, I do believe he's right. And I do understand that when we look at it, the Kroenke out way, it's banging your head on the wall. But if you look at it and flip it as a positive and try and get Arsenal back to being great again, it's very different. What was you going to say, Mo?
Well, yeah, firstly, on that last one, I'm never one to turn my nose up at trying. We should at least try. We've got nothing to lose. If people are going out there, putting their head above the parapet and basically saying, look, let's get let's try and get Stan to sell up. Yeah, I could either sit here and be really pretentious and be like, oh, well, it won't work, so don't bother. Or I can just say, fine, we'll give it a go. What have we got to lose? And there's no downside. So I'm more than happy to support that. But what I was going to say is that, we're talking about putting pressure on Lyon, and, that will, Aouar is obviously what we're thinking there. But tell me this. We tried to sign Aouar in summer. What do you think he's thinking now?
Well... God only knows what he's thinking. If it was me, and I'm going to be honest, and I'm looking at it as someone who's not an Arsenal fan right now, I'd probably dig my heels in and wait till into the summer when the impact of COVID flattens out a bit and potentially he can get a bigger, better, flashier move.
But I think I would be thinking, thank God that move didn't go through.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Look, let me just check this. I don't know where Lyon are in their league, but I'm just going to check this. But for Aouar, I'm sure he's thinking like, God, I don't fancy playing in that team, because look at us struggling and talking about relegation battles and all of this hassle that we're going through. So I'm not that confident that we can pressure Lyon, but it's just like we were saying about that hat on your head or Stan Kroenke's shares in Arsenal. We can't force a sale, and likewise, we cannot force Aouar to move to us. We can, try and tempt him with money, but there's no guarantee. And I'm not sure he'd want to move back. He'd want to move to Arsenal anymore. And look, Lyon are second in the league, only on goal difference behind Lille. And in fact, Marseille have got 2 games in hand. So basically, Lyon are in the title race. Would you want to leave in January? The title race, you know, if they're definitely going to get Europa League football, you'd look at based on their performances so far this season. Their last 5 games, they've won 4, drawn 1. What, are you going to leave that to come to Arsenal? I'm not so sure.
Like I said, regardless of even that position right now, I'd question leaving any club when you have potential and a buzz around your name at the moment. You know, I think years ago, I think we became used to the fact we wouldn't be able to sign the top talent around. Now, I think we're going to have to become used to the fact that some of the, you know, potential, exciting new talent around Europe might actually turn their nose up at us because we don't provide the best platform. I mean, Nicolas Pepe, before he came to us, was one of the hottest prospects in Europe. You know, it's easy to laugh about that now, but he was one of the hottest prospects in Europe. He was on fire. He had so much highlights, so much goals and assists that year. And all of a sudden, 18 months on, look at what Arsenal Football Club have done. And I'm not absolving him of any responsibility in that because he hasn't lived up to it. But at the same time, players are going to look at that. Players talk, players communicate, you know.
Also, Turkish, you know, I did speak about the fact that if you look at his record, and anyone go and do this independently, go and look at what he did in his first season in Premier League football versus Robert Perez versus Freddie Ljungberg, people that we idolise and love so much for what they did for the club. And actually, he's done well in his first season. And what I would say is that you look at him this season, but, I mean, it'd be very, very difficult for him to be better than everyone else. He's at the level that Arsenal are at, in a way. You know, I'd say he's actually better than the average. Not good enough, not by a long shot, but no one is. And that's my point. And I just wonder, in a team that's performing well, with a manager that coached him a bit more maybe properly in terms of how to play in English football, because I do feel like there are certain movements that he makes that make him a little bit too easy to play against and defend against at times. I just feel like he's still got huge potential, so I'm not giving up on him, even though I do share the frustrations. But it's hard to judge him in this team because no one's really doing that well.
Exactly, and young people are looking at that and looking at Saka as an example and how much pressure's on his shoulders. A teenager looking at the post the other day on his knees, talking about we deserve better. It's not the greatest perspective at Arsenal right now. Steve, a Liverpool fan since the 80s, said he really likes our perspectives on Arsenal, love from Canada. And again, Mo, that's something we get a lot. A lot of fans from other clubs tend to come in and tune in and leave comments too, saying they enjoy our conversations, which is obviously great to hear because we need more of that in football. We need more balanced conversations like this to show people that it's not only pundits that can sit down and talk to each other about things, you know. I think that's a massive step forward we can take and start really making some headway in creating some change as fans. Guna 1990s, again, after this video, everyone should read Usmanov's open letter to the board in 2012. Should have been addressed to Arsenal fans, explains the entire state. And I remember that it was more a plea. You know, I remember he was pleading to be on the board and he wanted to give Wenger the money. He wanted to give Wenger the support and financial structure behind, and he was let down. And in the end, we are here. And touching on Edu again, January's round the corner, Mo. And on the January transfer window, he says, why do people have to expect the magician to go boom? Come here, Messi. It depends on us. People might start to ask, what are we going to do in the winter window? Of course, we will try to do something, but we have the responsibility to change it. Don't wait for someone outside to come inside and be a magician. It's not going to happen. And again, Mo, is it just me that finds this condescending and a bit patronizing, or am I right in thinking that?
No, I think it is. You know, it's like no one is. Basically, he's trying to dispute something that no one has said. No one said you're going to say boom and Messi's coming up. We're not idiots, you know, and that's what frustrates me. I mean, no one is saying we're expecting Messi. We're just asking for some proper direction, and I feel like these are quite cop-out answers, you know, and I do find it a bit frustrating, but often this is why I don't really tune into these interviews with much hope of actually getting anything useful out of them, because they're not really like this sit-down talk where we're holding each other accountable, you know, and kind of being able to bounce things off properly and respectfully and, you know, talk on a proper level. they don't view us as equals. You know, this thing that's going to go out to fans, he's not talking to us on a proper level. I do agree with you, it is condescending.
Off the back of that, do you think, because I've thought about this before too, do you think a bit of honesty would give them some leeway? Do you think if they actually came out, Mo, and said, listen, we hold our hands up to playing some part in this, in where we are now, we take responsibility, we done this wrong, does that make a difference right now, or do you think it's too far gone? Because I do.
It's too far gone.
Yeah.
It's too far gone for me. I'm sick of, you know, I was saying, like, you saw Mane, who's such a legend. I really like Sadio Mane.
Yeah.
See that celebration he did for that Liverpool fan who asked him to do it for his grandfather. You have Liverpool fans going on social media before games and pre-planning goal celebrations. That's where they're at. And you get Arsenal players coming on social media after games apologizing for defeats. You know, I'm sick of hearing apologies.
I saw your tweet about Ceballos as well, and I completely agree. It's like the day or two after the game it's apologies, and the day or two before the next game it's we pick each other up for the next one.
Yeah. They've probably got it saved in their drafts already for the Chelsea game.
Back on top, definitely. You know that them tweets are generic, and someone here says we should sell Willian in January. I'm sorry to tell you, mate, the wages we've put him on and the contract we've put him on, there's no chance of that happening at all. David Dean, I wish it was the David Dean, but David Dean says the only thing that can attract great players is a big manager. Even at that, will the board be willing to buy those players? Well, we need to attract a big manager first, and the terms and conditions we are currently offering, in my opinion, cannot attract a big manager. What do you think, Mo?
Money goes a long way. You know, I do feel as though we have signed a lot of players without big managers being there. Money goes a long way, and if you offer the right money, then so be it. But right now, like, we're going to be struggling out of the Champions League and probably Europa League next season. Where's this money going to come from to attract these big players?
Yeah, it's true. And one thing I had at the bottom of this list is the indiscipline recently. Well, not recently, but under Arteta. Is that an Arteta issue, or is that a personnel issue?
Do you know what? I don't mind, and people might be surprised I'm saying this, but I don't really mind getting red cards and ill discipline, provided it's not the whole selfish, violent conduct sort of thing, because that I find really, really annoying. That has an impact on results. But to be ultra competitive in football, you need to find that balance of like a bit of sort of pride and arrogance that people are not going to get the better of you in your individual duels on the pitch. And sometimes I can accept it, like with Gabriel, for example, the red card that he got. I can accept it if sometimes you get it wrong. You obviously have to learn. I'm not going to just accept it every single week and say, oh, don't worry, you tried to win the ball. You have got to find that balance, which, let's say, for example, Patrick Vieira, he eventually did find that balance. And when you get it to that finely poised balance where you're always on the edge, you're always winning these battles, but, you know, once, twice a season, you might get a red card. I'm all right with that. It's the other ones that bother me. And I just hope that it's just coincidental, that it's like what Pepe did, what Xhaka did. I just hope that it's coincidental. But we saw Ceballos. He could have easily got a red card for the studs up challenge. That
was worse than all of them. That was worse than all of them.
But, you know, I just... I don't know what it is. I don't think that's something to do with Arteta. Surely, you know, he's obviously not telling Pepe to headbutt someone or Xhaka to grab someone by the throat. But the way to stamp it out is accountability. And from what I understand, they were fined by the club. But I don't know. I just feel like I'm hoping that's just a coincidence. But, you know, more than that, what annoys me is Arteta's post-match conferences. I really, really am getting tired of that. He's starting to sound like a Bond villain. All he ever talks about is complete domination.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. We got another issue with changing the owner is you could end up with someone like Mike Ashley. I don't think Kroenke should be your first priority in terms of removal, but appreciate the super chat and the thoughts. But I can't lie to you, like Mo said just a couple minutes ago, it's too far gone. We've given enough chances and we've given them the patience required as well. It's not like this all started 6, 7, 8 years ago. The pressure's only been ramped for the last 3-4 years and it's still not ramped in the right direction. We're going to leave.
It's just funny though. I just would point out that he's talking about Mike Ashley. Newcastle at 12th, you know, we're 15th. That's how bad it is. That even Mike Ashley right now is running a more successful ship than Arsenal. So I just kind of feel like, look, the question that I'm asking everyone, right, is if you don't want a change, if you don't want a new manager or a new owner or whatever, if you're kind of saying at this stage, be careful what you wish for, how bad does it have to get?
Yeah,
I don't understand where your line is that you draw, where you say, right, that's it, enough is enough now, because I'm there. This is relegation form. I'm done. When it was Arsene Wenger, we were like, what, 6th or 8th or whatever it might have been.
Yeah.
And you could look at that and maybe that wasn't your line, but how was your line not at 15th?
Yeah, it's madness, and that's the blind positivity, Mo. Like, recently, I've been talking about, because listen, Mo, in the past few years, negativity has been a big subject around Arsenal fans and the atmosphere and aura it can give off and the effect on players and whatnot. But no one talks about the blind positivity, which, in my opinion, is just as bad. In an ideal situation, you're meant to be blindly positive as a football fan. But when you're being manipulated and you're essentially a customer, we are not fans to them, we are customers. Yeah. Then I can see it as fair enough. You know, I can look at it like that. How do you see it?
I think, Ty. Yeah, I love Ty. I really like Ty because he's kept it real. He'll go and get a bus after watching a men's game to go and watch a women's game. He's a better fan than any one of us. Yeah. And I always say to Ty, you're the GOAT fan. And the reason for that is if Arsenal could make fans on a factory line, if they could produce 60,000 fans, whatever, they would make ties. He'll buy up all the merch, will never criticize. He is the best fan. But it's not actually beneficial to the club in bad times to have ultra positivity. They do need challenge. We've spoken about the fact that there's an inexperienced setup at Arsenal, and they need to know that actually it's not okay what's going on. So I feel like, and I'm not claiming that we're providing a service, but it's important that people are speaking out, and it's not just positivity for the sake of positivity. At 15th in the league, 4 points off the relegation zone, I don't see how we should. Pardon?
You're struggling to get some positivity out.
Yeah, but I don't think we should be looking for it. I don't think we should be trying to, because I don't think it's helpful in any way. We should just be saying it, quite honestly. We don't need to be abusive. We don't need to be overreactionary. I'm not throwing my season ticket away or doing anything stupid. I'm just saying that, listen, obviously we need to do something here. My line is 15th. My line is set above that. Yeah, we're below where I draw the line.
100%. For me, we crossed that line a long time ago.
Turkish, tell me this. How many people are watching right now?
2,500. Over 2,500.
I've got a challenge for 2,500 people watching, yeah? In Europe's top 5 leagues, name one other top club, like a big club with a big reputation like Arsenal. Name one other club that wouldn't have sacked their manager by now if this was that team performing like that. Even Dortmund, they recently sacked Favre, right? And
fifth or something like
that. I was just going to check, where are they in the league? And they sacked him. And I'm not saying that's a right thing necessarily, but what I'm saying is, remember, do you know when you're the absolute anomaly in any walk of life, when you're like doing things that no one else is doing, you have to look at it and say, all right, is everyone else wrong or are we doing something wrong? And I remember when Arsenal were the only team in Europe not to sign an outfield player one summer. And I thought to myself, surely we have to ask that question. Is everyone else wrong? Is everyone else acting weird, or are we the ones acting weird? So I'd ask again, the 2,500 people watching, name one of the top club. And as the example, Dortmund, 5th, sack their manager because it's not good enough. We're 15th. Which other top club would accept that and not sack their manager right now? I want the answers.
We haven't. I'm seeing a lot of nuns. Well, we got a Schalke in there, but he said top club. Like he said top club. I mean, and we've got an AC Milan in there, and I haven't looked into AC like that, but that would be an interesting one. But
and Schalke bottom, if I'm not mistaken, in the Bundesliga. But actually, they have sacked their coach.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but as I say, I'm talking about top clubs. Real reputations and real desirable clubs, and Arsenal are one of those. Not because of where we are now, but because of where we have been.
Yeah, we're meant to be. I completely understand and agree. It's just people easily in this day and age knock it back and say, "Well, you're not one of the top clubs." It's laughable, but essentially that's what we're meant to be. We, the prices that we pay indicate that we're meant to be that. What we are told indicates we're meant to be that. Our stadium move indicated that we're meant to be that.
And not only that, Turkish, I've been to so many pre-season games around the world watching Arsenal, right? And I'll never forget Arsenal versus Real Madrid in Washington last summer.
Yeah.
And on that America tour, we were in various different cities or whatever, like Charlotte, Denver, or wherever we were. And a lot of the teams we were playing, I was thinking, Arsenal will outnumber you. And then when it came to that game in America's capital, Washington, D.C. against Real Madrid, a huge club, I thought to myself, right now, we'll see that there'll be more Real Madrid fans that turn out. And I was wrong.
Yeah.
It was still more Arsenal fans. Honestly, that to me really, really made me realize just how big of a club Arsenal are and the global appeal that we've got. We are a huge club. If that was Schalke, as that one person kind of mentioned as an example, that wouldn't be the case. If Arsenal and Schalke go and play in Singapore, go and play in Kuala Lumpur, wherever, any place around the world, it would be Arsenal fans outnumbering Schalke fans 50-1.
Yeah.
There is not another top club that I can think of that would have accepted this. So why are we accepting it? And
sorry.
I just think we're wrong here. The way the club is managing this is wrong here. We do need that change.
They've tailored us exactly how they want us, Mo. They've done this to us. They told us that we have to sell our best players to fund the stadium. They lied to us in ways where they manipulated our love for the club and Arsene Wenger to get us to the point where they can treat us like this. And you're right, we are treated completely different to anyone else. And I know some people turn around and say, well, you're lucky it's not Newcastle with Mike Ashley, or you're lucky you're not this person in the championship. Well, it's completely different. Like I said, ticket prices, vision, name, even brand name, it's all up there with the best of them. But what isn't is the football on the pitch. And that's the biggest problem. Paul says Leeds lost 6-2, but kept on fighting. Did you watch that game when they earlier?
Yeah, I was watching. I got fed up, man, when United got another flipping penalty. What is that? Their 68th penalty in 14 games this season or something?
Yeah, and Bielsa was flipping on the side on his knees. And he was literally, it didn't look like he directed at anyone. He was just shouting at the whole team. And everyone was listening to him. And it was actually, even though they was getting battered, it was quite good to see because it reminded me of that old school approach. I like, but would you take Bielsa as an option if it ever became a question?
It would be interesting to see what he could do. I mean, the thing is, right now, someone like Bielsa, it's very hard to say that he would do worse than Arteta.
Yeah.
But I just feel as though I want a proven winner. And Bielsa, I don't think in top leagues he has that track record, but he's unbelievably highly spoken about. I think I was reading something once where Guardiola went and spoke to him and was actually taking tips off of him because he's that highly regarded in the world of football, Bielsa. So, I don't know. For me, it's Allegri, Pochettino, even Brendan Rodgers. I'd even take Brendan Rodgers. I really feel like he deserves more respect in as a manager now. Even though he hasn't taken teams to success, I think he's certainly showed that he's got something about him. But Allegri and Pochettino again, Pochettino hasn't taken anyone to success, but I feel like they're serious managers, and I'll take one of those.
Yeah, people are agreeing with the names you put out there. One I want to ask you about is Hassan Hutel. Has he shot up in your opinion? Would you consider him, or do you think those names are ahead?
No, I think that he's done unbelievably well for Southampton. Let's not forget Southampton. This season, they lost 9... No, was it last season? They lost 9-0?
Yeah, about a year ago, yeah.
Yeah, to Leicester. And, even this season, I think they had a really bad result as well. I can't remember who it was against. I'm going to have to look. But the way he's corrected it so instantly, I really do rate him. And I think that he is a very, very good manager. But I'm not sure if he'd fancy the Arsenal job. But I mean, maybe he would because of our reputation. But I don't know whether he'd be willing to leave Southampton and how well they're doing.
That's the thing. Look at last year when Brendan Rodgers was muted as a replacement for Emery or the favourite, and he signed a new contract with Leicester. That's what managers can use this, this rumour mill as well. Yeah. When Arsenal potentially want you, if the team you're at really mean business, then they will tie you down, like Leicester did with Rodgers, and Leicester pulled a great one out the bag today. So big up Brendan Rodgers for that.
Yeah, man, thank you.
We needed that over this side, I'm telling you, because any more momentum over there and a bounce back straight away, I would have started. I would have started really. The questions would have started floating into my mind. Steve, again, we got Liverpool American owners get it. They own the Boston Red Sox, a history on par with Liverpool, Arsenal, etc. Arsenal American owners view the club as an investment, something to leverage in the USA. Well, exactly that's what he's done. He's leveraged Arsenal to invest in his other teams. Over the last 14 years, he's invested about 5 billion into Rams, moving them into another city and another stadium. So.
But you know what? I don't want to get too too uptight about the wording and all that sort of stuff. But when you're talking about leveraging something, we're talking about using that to borrow money off of. That's what we're talking about. And from what I know, a question was asked many years ago, and that was ruled out. So I don't know if he's actually, like I could go and borrow money from a bank and kind of say my car is a security. Do you know what I mean? And so if I can't pay you back, I'm leveraging my asset. I don't think he's actually done that. But then again, I really don't know. I don't know how he's financed all of his deals. But all I know is that was a question that was asked and was ruled out. But ultimately, whether he is or not, he's not doing anything for Arsenal. He's not doing enough for Arsenal. So,
yeah, exactly, and that's the only thing we should really be needing to look at. We're already over an hour and 10 minutes in. Get your final questions in, people, because I don't want to hold Mo too much longer on this Sunday evening. But we've got a question here from King Salt Gambian Guna. A question to Turkish and Mo. Do you agree that we need football men in the board? Maybe O'Leary and Tony Adams, Overmars to replace Edu, maybe Ragnick to replace Vinai. And we discussed that earlier, and we pretty much agree. It can't all be about ex players. It has to be ex players that have also done it. It can't just be an Edu like Mo said earlier, where they can sell it to us in a way where it is an ex player. Trust him, he was around when we was winning stuff, but essentially he became another puppet. Whereas the names you mentioned there, O'Leary, Tony Adams, there's no chance of them becoming puppets. Mark Overmars, I think he's got a bit more drive and ambition than the regular person too. What would you think about those names in and around the board, Mo? Would you be a bit more hopeful?
Yeah, but as you say, it just cannot just be someone just for the sake of it, just to appease fans, just because it's a nice name. Like Sol Campbell, for example. If we got him, he's an invincible, a brilliant ex-defender for us, but he's not experienced in that field of being away from the football pitch. In that sort of role, he's trying to go down his managerial path. So if they said Sol Campbell's in that position, it could tick a lot of boxes that fans would want. But no, that's not good enough. It needs to be someone tried and tested that's got real influence and contacts and that kind of nous on how to do things and get things done. So it's got to be the right person. That's the key.
Yeah, it doesn't all come down to just that. It's a much bigger picture to it. And we got a super chat. Mo, your story illustrates why the Kroenkes will never sell. The fan base ensures cash flow positive. But at the end of the day, like we said, we're making loss now. But Mo highlighted a very good point that this European Super League will probably offset that loss. And in turn, it won't matter if we stop buying merchandise, stop going games. They will still be a profit-making business, Mo.
Yeah, and the thing is, look, it doesn't matter if he's making a loss. He can accommodate that. The guy's a billionaire. If you look at how much he's made in terms of how the value of Arsenal Football Club since he took over to now is hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds. He's done fantastically well. A few years of, a few £1 million lost is not going to be a big deal for him, because when he sells, he's going to realize a massive gain. And this is no average person who can't deal with one of his many, many investments making a loss. He's absolutely fine. He's never going to skip a meal, trust me. And the thing is, he might sell up when Arsenal's value, whatever it is now, Arsenal might be worth £1 billion now. With the European Super League, I don't know where these clubs' valuations are going to go. It might be worth double that then. And at that point, when he sells up, he'll look at it and say, all of the shares that I bought, I spent 450, 500, 600 million, whatever it might have been. And when he sells his shares, that's the vision he'll be looking at. There's a difference in terms of your annual profit or loss, and then there's the capital investment that he's looking at. I think that's his end game.
Fair enough. And Mo, how long have you got? Because Tom raises a good point here, and I don't want to keep you too long. But he said thoughts on holding captain, and not just holding captain, but in general, the captaincy.
Yeah, I mean, I've still got a few minutes, Turkish. Holding as captain, I just don't know. I just don't know. I don't know how the captaincy at Arsenal has become so worthless. And this is not criticism of Holding. It's, you know, it's ever since the group captaincy thing that we did and everything like that. But to me, it's always just shown an absence of a prominent candidate for the captaincy. When there's someone that, you know, you would never ever be able to walk past Tony Adams in the changing room. You'd never be able to walk past Patrick Vieira, Sol Campbell. You'd never be able to walk past them and give the captaincy to someone else, because everyone will be like, well, what the hell are you doing? You know, they're that prominent individual, give it to them. In the absence of that, you see it get passed around. And I don't think Willian should be captain either. I don't rate Willian, and never have, never wanted him to join the club. I don't think that he leads by example. He's not dependable, reliable enough. So I don't know who should have been captain actually in our last game. Perhaps Leno?
Who knows? Yeah, Leno's probably a good shot, because then you could make sense of it. You don't know who to give it to, so you gave it to the keeper. You know, I can understand that a bit better.
Yeah.
Rob Holding, he was on the verge of Newcastle a few months ago, and now he's Arsenal captain. It's
exactly. Exactly. I mean, I'm just looking at the team. I'm looking at the team and I'm thinking Tierney, potentially. But, you know, here we're giving the captaincy for a great club like Arsenal to a player that's only been here, like, you know, a matter of months. So,
yeah. We got a super chat. And Ornstein saying, did you see the Ornstein saying Arteta is safe? Well, Edu said he's safe as well 6 days ago. So Ornstein reiterating that doesn't surprise me. Neeraj says that's a criminal decision, but the team above him are all punching above their own weight already. Exactly. To me, it seems like Vinai, Edu, you know, they're trying to keep as much attention away from them as possible, you know, and trying to offer sweeteners to the fans with that PR move, and trying to keep Kroenke as sweet as possible with the bottom line and profits if they can. At the end of the day, they're in over their heads, in my opinion. And
look,
Paul, yeah, go on.
Turkish, we're saying that he's safe. The next 3 games we've spoken about, you know, the next 3 Premier League games, Chelsea, Brighton, and West Brom, is it?
Yeah, Chelsea, Brighton, yeah.
Yeah, listen, if they go horribly wrong, and that will take up to the 2nd of January after the West Brom game, if they all go horribly wrong, we will be in the relegation zone and we'll be faced with the January transfer window. And at that point, I feel like, you know, when a team, it's all this cliche in football, when a club is coming out and saying, no, the manager is getting our backing, I'm going to stick with him, the only reason they're saying that is because they need to clarify it, which is a bad sign in itself. So I feel like they might be saying that, but if the next 3 results don't go our way, then I think we could easily see a change.
Yeah, Paul's saying that a major asset of Bielsa's is that he wouldn't take no shit, and I do understand that, and I think we do need a manager that doesn't take shit, and doesn't take shit consistently. It can't be just one way for an Ozil or Guendouzi, like you've highlighted, and then one way for a Xhaka or a Willian. You know, it needs to be consistent for us to trust you and trust that you've got the club's best interests at heart and not friendships and personal agendas. Your board is to be blamed more. An incompetent board like that of United had the sense to remove a player on the wage of 350k, unlike Ozil. And I think we've saw sense with that, mate. But I do think that Ozil dug his heels in. The club played it in the wrong way, and here we are now, you know, in this mess. I think both sides have me and Mo disagree on this, but we can agree that both sides have played it wrong, you know. And in the end, it's been a massive hindrance, not just this season, but for the last 2-3 years. The last year of Wenger's reign, Ozil was the hindrance. The first year of Emery's reign, Ozil was a hindrance. And now under Arteta, it seems to be the same case. And by Ozil, I don't mean him in particular, because I mean the club too, the whole situation. Anything more on Ozil, Mo?
No, that's it, man. Listen, Turkish, I've got to head, but we've spoken about Ozil enough. But listen, it's been a pleasure again talking and catching up. And look, let's do it again, and let's see in 3 games' time where we're sitting.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the next 3 games? Yeah, potentially people will be back Wednesday the 30th after the next 3 games. If Mo can make time on that day, then we'll do it. If not, look out for the thumbnail and look out for the information on Twitter and whatnot. But Mo, I appreciate you coming on. I'm just going to read the last couple of chats there. I don't want to miss them because people...
Sure thing.
Yeah, but thank you, Mo. Take care of yourself, yeah?
See you later. Cheers for watching, everyone.
Nice one. So people, obviously, Mo's gone. So I assume that the viewers will go down rapidly. But let me get these last few thoughts out the way, because, like I said, I appreciate every question and every thought. But when someone does attach a donation, I don't want to miss it. Why are we the ones who make the most brain dead signings? Because we have brain dead people in charge. Xhaka instead of Kante, Mustafi, Mkhitaryan, Willian. Shocking management indeed, 100%. You know, and literally that is the answer, because we got too many brain dead people in charge. So I hope that answers the question for you, mate. Let's see what we got here. We got Caesar, the pie, 5 million. We have to push, and Willian is wanted by Juve. Juve don't want Willian. Juve are a very shrewd team. Juve get their free signings. If they want someone that's on a free, they will get them. You saw that over the years, and Willian is not someone they've wanted. Juventus know a free signing, you know, potentially you turn it round and you make profit out of it, but you can't make profit out of Willian. Welshie King, I can't see your super chat. It's gone from the screen, but I do see it up here, so I'm going to read it out, bro. I do apologize. Arsenal. Oh, shit, it's gone. Sorry, Welshie King. It's gone, my bro. I was literally about to read it out, you know. Let me go up on this, see if it's there. No, it's back. It's back. Arsenal trying to do the long-term approach with Arteta. They're hedging a bet that long-term he'll turn over the squad and bring success. Exactly. That's exactly what they're doing, you know. They're basically telling us, be patient while we take this massive risk. The thing is, he's making errors we can't cater for right now. 100%, my bro. And I appreciate you tuning in as always, a regular. I appreciate everyone that's tuned in tonight. There's still 2,400 people here. Someone said ban the spammer. I would, but the show's over, people. I will be back hopefully tomorrow, maybe Tuesday for the Big Six. Actually, Tuesday we're playing, so hopefully tomorrow for the Big Six. If not, catch me Tuesday for the Man City preview. Make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already on your way out. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already on the way out. Make sure you add me on Twitter, Instagram, Turkish LDN if you haven't done so already. And make sure you remember, hashtag sell Arsenal over, hashtag Kroenke out. That needs to be the new movement, people. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. And I hope you guys, you know, have a good evening and enjoy the Christmas celebrations that are due to come for the rest of this week.